My name is Steve Hogden. I'm a married 50-year-old stay-at-home dad of 2 primary school-aged kids. Pretty active. I go to the gym, coach junior rugby, and I'm relearning how to surf after a long layoff. Oh, and I'm a competitive skydiver. In November 2019, while training for the National Skydiving Championships, I suffered a hard landing and completely ruptured both my ACL and MCL in my left knee.
Ow. My knee.
This is the story of my rehabilitation.
We had just decided that we were going to the National Skydiving Championships 10 minutes earlier, 20 minutes earlier. We got on the plane, we went to height, we jumped, we had a great jump, and then the winds had come up and I ended up in a bad place to land. And I did what it says in the textbook to do when you've got a sketchy landing happening, but unfortunately my knee, it resulted in my knee rupturing. I had a decision to make. The decision was to either go to the GP or go to my physio.
Steve came in to Horizon after he injured his knee in November in 2019. He had an injury skydiving in which he sort of landed on the inside of his knee, and he had a full rupture of his ACL, full rupture of his MCL, and some chondral damage and some bony edema as well. We discussed the pros and the cons of every approach, and we decided that treating this without surgery was going to be the best place to start.
I've seen so many ACL injuries in this sport and other sports that I played, rugby for example, and I've seen so many of those injuries that my view was that I was going to have surgery. I just expected to be told, you're going to an orthopaedic surgeon and you're going to be under the knife for the next few weeks, and I thought that I would be on crutches for a year.
There are lots of options for managing a patient with an ACL injury. There's lots of new evidence coming out showing that many patients can cope well lifelong without ACL surgery, and in fact that there's some studies showing that the ACL can in fact heal in higher percentages than we used to previously think. There's lots of options to treating them. It can be that we have early surgery for patients. Patients can do a period of rehabilitation and then choose surgery. They can never have surgery and just do rehabilitation, or they can avoid tasks that were particularly provocative before and just do rehabilitation. So those are the kind of the main options that patients would go for.
I see very little reason why, as a patient with an ACL injury, you would go immediately into surgery. For a start, your outcomes are always going to be better if you allow some of the swelling to settle and you start getting some strength into the knee before going into surgery. And so that time we now spend immediately after the injury starting to rehab the knee. We've started to see a lot of these patients get better quite quickly, and a lot of times avoid the need for surgery straight away within those first 3 to 6 months. And that gives us enough time generally to find out how well you're going to do without the need for surgery, and how well your knee's going to heal, and how easily you'll return to sport without having to go down the surgical pathway.
The orthopaedic surgeon said there would be no time lost from a period of rehab, or prehab if you want to call it that. To start the exercise program now would have zero material effect on the length of time that I'd be out of sport. So for me it was a no-brainer. Start the exercise program, and then at the 3-month mark the orthopaedic surgeon was going to make a call as to whether he needed to cut.
We then went off and chatted with an exercise physiologist, and we chatted with a sports doctor, and we saw an orthopaedic surgeon, and we kind of got everybody involved, which I think was really great. It was a big part of our success because we had that multidisciplinary approach. We got everyone on the same page, and we sort of went forward with a really solid plan.
Steve's injury was quite full on, obviously, as an incident. I remember first meeting Steve and seeing him coming in with his brace on and being in quite a lot of pain, but still had that glimmer of hope. And from a therapist point of view, it's really encouraging when we can see that patients have got that spark in their eye, that they are committed to a rehabilitation program. And so for me, it was great to see that, and it's been very exciting seeing Steve progress step by step, and then more recently some of his achievements with Skydiver. I always take a very pragmatic, slow and purposeful approach, and we wanted to get Steve's movement in his knee better, get the pain better as we've discussed, and then slowly expose the patient back to obviously what their goal is. And you want to take that a really graded and not rush. And we saw that every goal and marker that we set for Steve, he achieved it and was ready to go to the next level. And so with each step, we saw him take on that step and improve. And so for us, it's just a real joy to work with a patient like Steve.
With Steve, we needed to know how well he could land, so we had him doing a lot of landing. So we would drop off of boxes and we do video analysis and look at how he lands and how we can make it better, and how confident we are that landing is going to transfer over to his ability to land out of the plane.
Though we had been training for the national championships, I'd never considered myself as an elite athlete. And that mindset of having your health professionals treat you like an elite athlete changes everything. It changed my approach to training, it changed my approach to rehab, it changed my approach to my nutrition, and that had a carry-on effect with my teammates it changed them. I lost more weight, and that has a significance in skydiving, which is really important for everyone else. We got fitter, so therefore we were faster. It just had a flow-on effect right through. So I think it's really important to stress that being treated like an elite athlete, even if I hadn't been considering myself in that bucket, was a really important part of my rehab.
For Steve, it worked for a few reasons. He was very committed and has continued to remain committed to the rehabilitation. That is key. I think belief. There was a strong belief on Steve's part that it was going to work. And from a therapist point of view, we at Horizon and myself, as in working for Global Specialist Physiotherapy, I'm passionate about using evidence-based approach, and so are the therapists here. And so I think that combination of having commitment to the rehab, a positive outlook, and using an evidence-based approach, and really taking our time and being smart about it, that's how you increase the chance of success. If you've injured your ACL or injured your knee and you're looking for a second opinion, absolutely, I would encourage you to do that. I wouldn't rush in your decision making. There's a lot of good research out there showing that there's multiple ways to treat an ACL injury, for example, or a meniscus injury, for example. It's certainly not a one-size-fits-all, and I think that can be incredibly encouraging for patients and for all healthcare professionals as well dealing with these sorts of injuries.